So, Master Wolf, tell us, please. So, how do you develop in yourself such an amazing skills, and how began your path on this way? How you become a Grandmaster Wolf? What was the first decision, or maybe some situation on your life that push you on this way? Thank you.
I didn't decide to be a mystic. I didn't decide to be a grandmaster. My only decision was to find out how to get away from an abusive childhood. So at the age of 9 or 10, instead of going to school, I would leave my home in the morning with my school bags, and I would go to the public library instead of going to school. And I started to teach myself. The reason was I was being bullied at school, I was being bullied in the streets, and I was being bullied at home. By the age of 9 or 10, I just couldn't figure out why life was like this. So I needed answers, and the answers weren't coming from school. So I decided to take my own education into my own hands. So by the time I was 11 or 12, I already started to look into psychology, spirituality, occultism. So one thing led to another, and I ended up studying Kung Fu under a Chinese master. He was a iron shirt master, iron palm, in Australia. One day he called my parents because I kept turning up at training with bruises from my father. So one day my teacher called my father and asked if it would be okay if I went and lived in his school with him and his family, my teacher. And my parents basically just said, yes, take him. So I never actually went home and said goodbye. I just left. And I went and lived with my martial art teacher. After 2 years, I was told that I was seriously broken inside spiritually. And I will never, ever be able to reach where I want to reach in that state. So he gave me a letter of introduction and sent me off to the Himalayas, where I met a Sherpa. And the Sherpa took me up to a temple. And that's where I was from 1974. I was ordained as a monk in 1975 at the age of 14 or 15. And that's where I was till 1988. And then many things happened, and the Chinese army came in and started to attack the monks in my monastery. I was tortured and hung a few times. And that's basically where it all started for me. I needed to know these things. Anyway, a long story short, I spent almost 20 years in Tibet studying deep spiritual practices. And then, as I say, the Chinese came in at one point at a place called Chokhong Monastery, and they killed 9 of the monks that were with me, and 3 of us survived, myself, my teacher, and another monk around about my age. We were tortured for about a week after that, and then the British consulate came in and saved us. Now, my teacher at the time said to me, if this destroys my peace of mind, if I create hatred and revengeful thoughts because of what just happened to us, I have wasted my time in the Himalayas studying spirit. So I convalesced, I got better, and then I went to China and joined a monastery in China for 5 years in order to not have any ill feelings, revengeful feelings, or anger towards the Chinese, which I didn't. But I needed to make sure. And that's where I learned Kung Fu and Qigong and certain other methods of mind control. That's about it, really. After 5 years of that, I went back to Australia. I opened up my own monastery, and I started teaching what I had learned in the Himalayas and in China and through my own studies. And that's all I've done, really. I haven't really done much else. And this is where it's come to. In the beginning, when you start to explore self, you think the body is you think your mind is you think your thoughts are you. So you start to explore these things. Now, what you're exploring is a self that has a limited time span. Matter can only be held together for a certain amount of time, at best 100 years as a human. So you have a limited amount of time, and that affects your thought processes. That affects your answers to your own questions. So that's in the beginning, that's what you start to explore as the self, the illusionary self. Then you'll start to get into things like magic, because you want to be able to create immortality in this self. You want it to live longer. You want it to be stronger. You want it to be more special. So if you are unlucky, you will start to delve into the rabbit holes of magic and all of those sorts of things. Now, once you realize that the mind that you are in there, and this is the difference, when you sit back in meditation and you are watching your thoughts but not thinking, you are that higher mind. When you are watching your thoughts are before you. But whatever you are in there watching them isn't thinking. It doesn't have thoughts. It's just pure awareness. So when you start to explore the newfound you, it's different, because that newfound you, that pure awareness that you are, it's not physical. Therefore, it can't die. It can't rot. It can't disappear. It's not locatable. You can't touch it. You can't see it. But you are it, being aware of everything else. So once you start to explore the real self, you now have the freedom to explore immortality, timelessness, etc., etc. I think I answered your question.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. The second question is like about the distance influence. So it will be interesting to hear how it works, because we saw that how you did this, but there is a lot of information about how people can develop this in yourself, and you understand there are a lot of lies sometimes, a lot of bullshit. So it would be perfect to hear it from you.
Beautiful question. Thank you. Yes, there is a lot of bullshit. People who tell you that this is all very complex and very difficult to learn and it takes many years are lying. They're just trying to create a business for themselves, or they're trying to be special in the eyes of others. It's very, very simple. If you sit back and look at the status quo, what do we have? We have a universe full of matter, and there is an animating force in the matter that makes it alive. That's it. That's what you are. That's what I am. That's what a whale is. That's what everything is. It's mind inside matter. Very, very simple. Now, without going too deeply right at the moment, that means that as mind, that pure mind that you were born as, is in everything already. So when it comes to remote influence, you are already everywhere. But our education creates the delusion that we are all separate individual fragments of one life, and therefore we are not connected. And because everybody believes that and thinks that way, they can't see how ESP is possible. They can't see how telekinesis is possible, because how can you do that if you're not connected? And therefore it creates a dumbing down of people's spiritual powers. Once you know and realize and understand and have experienced that the mind that you are is in all things, then it's easy. Moving your finger is no different to moving a glass of water or a bottle or anything for that matter. Like that, for instance. The universe is one living entity, and the mind of that entity is in all things. We call it awareness. And that is why you can influence everything. You are already everything. And like I said, there's only two things going on. There's the ego and there's the spirit. The ego is what thinks is you and what you now think is it. The spirit is whatever you are in there that is aware of those thoughts. Now, you're aware of when you're thinking, and you are aware of when you are not thinking. So you obviously aren't your thoughts. You know when you're thinking, and you know when you're not thinking. So knowing has nothing to do with thought either. So what the hell are you using them for? When you're sitting on the toilet having a poo, you don't think about opening your sphincter. You're not thinking about pushing out the poo. You're thinking about work, or you're thinking about driving a car or something similar. Nobody thinks about what they're doing while they're doing it. What I'm getting at there is our thoughts are a problem. We don't need them for everything. We only need them for a few things. And unfortunately, they've gotten out of control. We educate it. We think that our thoughts and our emotions are more important than the secrets of the universe. So forget the universe. Let's just focus on self. This is the status quo of humanity. So people ignore the higher mind. People ignore the fact that they are in there, seeing their thoughts, seeing their dreams, seeing their emotions, but not being able to do anything about it. And that's just the status quo, and it's sad. All you have to do is sit back and watch your thoughts and do nothing about it. Just watch them, and you will see them creating religions. You will see them creating falsities. You will see them creating spirits and demons. You will see them creating everything that wrecks your life. But what you're not realizing and seeing is your life is controlled by everything that is invisible. I'll give you an example of what I mean. Are your parents still alive? Yes. Your mother, do you have a good relationship? Let me ask you this. Is there someone in your life that you love dearly? Yes. How do you know you love them? Because you know. You don't have pictures showing that you love them. You don't have thoughts telling you that you love them. You just know that you love this person, and that's invisible. This is the land of the mystic. You have willpower. You can't see it. It's invisible, but you use it every single day. It's these invisible things that creates your life and keeps you alive. Everything that makes life life is in you. Otherwise, you wouldn't be alive. And therefore, it is a ridiculous concept to go looking through books and gurus and teachers and people you've never met in your life, looking for the answers to these questions when everything that makes life manifest is right there between your ears. But they're all invisible. Your passion is invisible. Your compassion is invisible. Your willpower is invisible. Your needs are invisible. Your knowing is invisible. And these are the things that make you alive and keep you alive. And yet nobody looks into these things. And that's it, really. So once you know the difference, it's very easy which way to go with your explorations into the mysteries of life. And once you have stopped thinking that you are separate to all things, once you see and have demonstrated to yourself that you are in all things, then moving another object is no different to moving your finger. Why can you move your finger without thinking? Because you don't see it as being separate from you. You don't have a concept of thinking that this is a separate thing to you. Therefore, you just move it because it is a part of you. When you look at a glass or a bottle or something that you wish to move, all you have to do is get rid of your thought process and come straight from your knowing. So get rid of the middleman, get rid of the thought process, and just come straight from your knowing. Then your life is being ruled by spirit. Then your life is not being marked or screwed up by wrong education. And then you will have all the skills that you're talking about. It's that simple.
Yeah, according to your answer, because it's also interesting. You were talking about the imagination. You were talking about the pictures that we have in our minds. There is also the opinion that the people who is working on the distant influence, they using this mechanism.
Yes.
Is it this? No.
Absolutely. And this is how people can curse each other and put spells on each other. It's that simple. So if a magician or a witch or a warlock or a black magician was to put a curse on you, for instance, all they need to do is plant a thought in your head. And if you believe it, you are cursed. but it has nothing to do with the person that is pretending to curse you. You've done it to yourself by believing the person. If someone puts a curse on you, you could have the most powerful, magical group in the world try and curse you. But if you don't believe your own thoughts, can't be touched. Simple as that. Black magic is no different to how commercials control your mind and how governments can control your mind. MK Ultra, it's all the same thing. It's just putting a seed in there and getting you to believe it. And that's all there is to it. It's hypnosis as well. So if you feel cursed, meditate and you won't be touched. Watch your thoughts being upset, but you yourself will not be upset. Watch your thoughts being in fear, but you yourself won't be in fear. So it's like watching a movie at that point. You watch your thoughts and you go, oh, wow, my thoughts are fearful. How interesting. And that's the end of that. So when you're in fear, if you have fearful thoughts, and if you watch closely, you'll notice that you have other thoughts over here telling you that these are negative thoughts. So it's a loop. It's a shit fight in there. It really is. So the best thing you can do is when your thought processor isn't working and it's working, or if it's working against you, stop engaging with it. Do something else for a while and everything settles. Do we have 1 minute and I'll tell you a very quick story? Do you mind?
Yes, of course.
Tell me if you've already heard it. I'm talking about confetti. Imagine that the room that you are in right now is the inside of your brain. And your room, the inside of your brain, is full of confetti, millions and millions and millions of pieces of confetti. And each piece of confetti represents a thought. So now you have billions of thoughts, billions of confetti in that room. Now, if you are emotionally moving around in that room, the confetti is going to start to blow around the room and fill the room up. After a little while, you won't be able to see the walls. You won't be able to see your furniture anymore. You'll forget what kind of beautiful pictures you had on the wall. There's no light coming through the windows anymore. So now you start to feel a little bit blind, a little bit confused. You'll start to stumble over stools and chairs that you forgot where they are. So now you're lonely. You can't see your friends outside. There's no light coming through the window and you're trapped. Now, a psychologist would have you go in there and take all the blue pieces and put them in a neat pile and take the red ones and put them in a neat pile. That will take you 7 lifetimes and it won't work. So you got a room full of confetti going everywhere and it's confusing. So what do? You find the door handle and you slowly walk out the door and you go and have a cup of coffee. And when you come back and you walk in the door slowly, you'll notice that all the confetti has settled. And now you can see your furniture and you can see out of the window and you can see your walls and the pictures and it's just beautiful. And now you're not confused and you're not lonely and you feel great again. And you've even got access to your phone now because you can find it. And then you vacuum up all your confetti and burn it. That's the path to enlightenment, is when you burned that confetti. Now, let's say right now, your head is full of confusion, full of confetti, and you think someone has cursed you. Let's say that hypothetically. So let's just do something for a second. As you're breathing right now, try this. As you're breathing, just feel the cool air as it's touching the rim of your nostrils and just notice how cool it is. Don't watch your brain trying to think about it. Your thoughts are going to try and pretend to be you at this point. So you feel how cool the air is as it goes in. As it comes out, notice now that it's warm. Doesn't matter why, don't think. Don't stop your thoughts, but notice your thoughts are thinking about this. So the cool air is going in. Feel that for a moment. We'll do this 3 times. Warm air comes out. Cool air comes in. Feel this with all of your mind. One more time. Just feel that cool air on your nostrils and breathe out. Now have a look at your head for a moment. It's settled. Your heart has settled. Your mind has settled. Your thoughts have settled. What you just did is when you go here, you've walked out of the room. for a few moments, and the confetti settles. Another one is to just feel a pen. Take 2 minutes and just feel the pen. Don't look at it. Is it cool? Is it warm? Is it heavy? Does it have writing on it? Are there sharp scratches on there because it's an old pen? By the time you've explored the pen with your finger and thumb, your mind will settle. Why? Because you've been in your finger and your thumb for the last 2 minutes. Beads are exactly the same. There's 108 beads on here. I don't count them, but if I had a head full of confusion and anger and whatever people have in their heads these days, you would just feel the bead, the first bead. Is it warm? Is it cool? Are there any cracks or nicks or divots in there? And go to the next one. By the time you finish, there's nothing happening up here because you haven't been in there for 10 minutes. You've been here. And that's absolute control. That is the ability to say, okay, monkey, if you're not going to behave yourself, I'm leaving you alone for the next 10 minutes. And if you've got a dog, you know very well that they hate being left alone. So that's control. If you can do just that alone, you will have a happy life for the rest of your life. Because if someone upsets you, not a problem for you. You know you're not your thoughts, and you know you can just walk out when you feel like it, and they will behave themselves. The next question, of course, what are you in there that can do that? Go from your brain to your fingers. And then the next level, if you wish to take that further and not just be a happy person, but to understand the mysteries of the universe, you learn to take that mind out of the body. And then you can see all of the invisible things of reality and the mysteries of the world. And at that point, you're not a Taoist, you're not a mystic, you are just the life that was originally manifest billions of years ago. Now, that awareness that you are, that is in all things, has always been in all things forever. And it has the knowledge of everything that it has ever been. And this is why you know everything before you even think it. It knows all things. So when you can back up and start to engage life from that higher mind, that awareness that you were born as, you have a connection with and you have access to all knowledge that has ever happened, all life, the universe. And at that point, you will see that there are no problems, only in the world of monkeys and men. And it's between our ears, and we create it. Outside of that, life is extraordinarily simple and cool.
There is also one questions that it is common because the people are searching a lot in internet, and in this in conversation with you we have the opportunity to break the myths.
Yeah, good.
Distance strike, there is some videos when the people are standing on the big distance with the guy, he's moving his body, and then you see that someone becomes the strike. Is it the same nature like the distance flowing influence? Is it the same nature like for distance healing or some things from the magic like curses also, or is it something different?
It's something different. It's chi, and what they call chi energy. None of these things really have a name. It is focused. Okay, how could I put this? We were speaking before about invisible things that lead and control and guide your life. When you focus consciousness, life begins to manifest. I'm talking about universal consciousness. When life focuses on the only thing that is there, which is itself, it can start to work with and manifest anything and everything that has to do with that focus and the self that it is focused upon. Let me back up a little bit. It's love. Chi is a form of love, and that's not going to make sense to many people. So I need to let you know what I mean by that. So what does love do? In the human world, love, when you are in love, you can't keep away from the thing you're in love with. It draws things together. The main thing I'm getting at here is love is an attractive thing. It pulls things together. It's like gravity, it pulls things together. Now there is a universal love which pulls dust together. It pulls atoms together. It pulls molecules together. Molecules will become dust. The dust will start to come together and form gravel. The gravel will come together and form rocks. Rocks will come together and form planets, etc., etc., etc. So that's the love of the universe. It has the ability to create planets, to create stars, to create people, to create solid forms. That's universal love. Now, when you focus universal love in a beam, you have chi, or what we call chi. And you can push, you can pull, you can heal, you can do all sorts of things. But if you see your chi as being a special magical force that you have developed, you never ever. I mean, how many so-called chi masters are in the world, and none of them are doing what you would expect to do if you had those powers? And that they all end up dying of being stabbed or something. Anyway, that's what it is, chi. It's a focused form of love. It connects you to the thing that you wish to manipulate. And once you've made a connection with something, it becomes you. And then you can work with it, just like eating an apple. So if I focus my chi and put my chi into you, I now have a connection. We are literally connected, just like me and my finger is connected. At that point, I can heal you in the same way I can do this with my hand, because I'm connected, and that's love. Anything that connects anything is love, a form of love. So that's what chi is.
The next question is in a field of feeling yourself, and it's really interesting to know when you're using these techniques, with chi or some other. Do you feel something different than usual in this period, or it's always the same?
I feel nothing. It's like I said, doing that, I doesn't require emotions. It doesn't require thought process. It is so much a part of my life and my being, this meat bag that I'm in at the moment, that it has an immediate expression of what I wish to express. It's immediate, like bang, you do it, it's immediate. And it's the same with using chi. It's the same as anything you do. You'll get a funny feeling inside your stomach. You'll hardly recognize what it is, and you will hardly pay any attention to it. But you yourself, you'll get a very, very quick, short feeling in your stomach, and your body will know that you need to go and have a pee. And you just go and have a pee. You don't think about it. You don't have any emotions about it, unless it's inconvenient to have a pee right now. But you don't get any feelings. You just do it. And it's the same with chi and all of these skills that you're talking about. They have to become so normal, and they are normal. I mean, if you can do them, then they're natural. There's no such thing as unnatural. Nature produces everything. It might not work, some things, but it's still natural. There isn't anything out there that came from anywhere else but nature. So everything is natural. These skills are natural. You know, I have religious people saying, aren't you worried that you're doing the devil's work? And I have to say, well, the devil is a belief of yours. It's got nothing to do with me. So no. And the other answer is, I was made by life. I have absolute faith in life. So if life made me and I can do this, then it's a good thing to be doing. I'm not going to stop doing it because someone believes in an invisible enemy called Satan or an invisible friend called Jesus. I'm not going to go on because religious people are already going to hammer me for saying these things. But, to religious people, grow up. Religion is insanity, obviously.
So I just wanted to ask the next question: if we, divide the people for the two categories, who is going only for the one goal to get these unnatural skills, the distance influence, the mind reading, and so on. And the other category who is going for understanding themselves, who is searching the enlightenment, and so on. And as I understand from what you tell, the people who is going the way of the enlightenment and the self understanding, self development, they are getting these skills like a bonus because they don't want it. It just happens because they understand the basic things with the thoughts, with the matter, with the universe, with the ego, and so on. And for example, the people we're living now in the consumer society where the people always want to get something. And you also were talking about we want to be unique no matter how, but we want to be unique, who's searching the magic. Do they also can get these things? Do they can be taught of the distant influence, of the mind reading, of the healing on distance, or the way will be some kind of closed for them?
The people who are purely into the magic and want to be special, etc., etc., it depends on their reason for studying the magic. If their reason to study magic is to be better than other people or to be special in the eyes of other people or just to have the power to control other people and control things, if that is their aim, there is no reason why they can't become good magicians, good at their magic, but they won't be able to produce enlightenment. There's an anomaly. The anomaly is to reach and to start approaching the enlightened mind, you have to move away from the ego. Everything to do with magic is based on want. Even if you think you want to heal other people, that's still self-centered. Now, every human being in the world that is off on their own little tangent, just wanting, getting, they're not on the same page as life itself. And therefore, life will never make sense to those people, ever. And then they will start striving for a better life, striving to know more. And then they'll start to make up things like gods and all the rest of it, religions and things like that. And of course, if any of those things were true and if any of those things were to work, our planet would be a paradise now. But it isn't. Why not? Because these things aren't fucking working. Sorry about swearing, but, So that's the case. So when you start to move into magic and all of that kind of stuff to be special, if you are lucky, you might have the realization that there is this other thing inside, this original you. And if you are strong enough, you will start to reprogram your own monkey so that it will happily give itself up for a higher cause. If you can do that with your magic, you can then reach enlightenment. But very few people do that. They get caught up in the rabbit holes of their magic. People go, oh, that was wonderful. And now this person would prefer that to be called wonderful than to actually be quietly and privately enlightened and happy. And that's the kind of monkey that we are. It's a strange thing. So yes, there's magic and there's mysticism. Magic is the mysticism of the lower mind. Enlightenment is the mysticism of the higher mind. And we all have both potentialities. Let me put it this way. If you can think of 5 of the most evil people on the planet, Chikatilo, Hitler, Dharma, we'll pick a few horrible fucking people. You put them all in the same room together and you get them to meditate on their nostrils just for a few moments until all of their programs settle. At that moment, they all have exactly the same mind. It's clear, it's pristine, it's divine, no hatred, no fear, no racism, no war, nothing. And they would all be wonderful, beautiful people until their thoughts come back up, and then they will become Chikatilo, Hitler, the people that their programs have become. So everyone starts off as the enlightened mind, but once society takes over the education, that enlightened mind is finished. And if you are a lucky person, you can come back around to it later in life and start to re-engineer. So what I'm saying there is the state of humanity is you are born, nature produces a beautiful, pristine, clean head full of awareness and joy and happiness. Joy and happiness isn't something you attain. That's what's left when you take everything else out. It's just joy and happiness. That's the default state of the human mind. But then we cover it up with all the other shit. Now, if you are a master magician, you can't produce enlightenment. But if you are an enlightened human being, you can do all of the magic, but you won't, because there's no point. The fact that in the beginning you can create planets and create suns and create stars is magic enough. You've done enough magic. Just get to know the miracle that you are now. And that's all you need to do. But all the powers are there if you need them. If someone comes to you and they are in misery, within a second, you can stop the misery. Within a second, just with a word. You don't have to go through any treatments. You don't have to get people to come back several times. You don't have to give them medicines. If you know what you're doing, you just reach into their mind, you separate them from their ego just for a moment, and that experience is enough for that person to be healed. It's called placebo. Placebo is the only healing, really. If I give you a sugar tablet and convince you that that tablet is going to fix you, it will fix you. But I didn't do it. The tablet didn't do it. You did. And everything is in the individual. So this is how, if you want to control people, you control their thought processor. That's it. Outside of that, you can't control anybody. It's creating a placebo effect through association. Let me show you how magic works. If you become sick, you will say to yourself, I'm going to go to a doctor and get this fixed. You've just started a placebo effect. You've just given yourself a spell that, if you work through the spell, will have a positive outcome. I'm sick, I'm going to go to a doctor and get it fixed. That's a suggestion. That is a hypnotic suggestion. You go to the doctor, that's the first part of the ritual. Successful, you got to the doctor. The doctor is going to go, yes, I can fix that. That is moral support, customer support. The doctors go, yes, you are right, we can fix this. I'm going to give you a magic piece of paper with some magic squiggles on it, which is a prescription. He gives you that, you take that, and he goes, now take that to the shaman. So you take that to the chemist or apothec, whatever you call it over there. And the witch behind the counter will give you this special stuff, probably just sugar, but they will give it to you. And you go, thank you, this is going to fix me. And you go home and you take it and you heal yourself. You just created a magical effect on yourself, and you just created a placebo effect. That's how all magic works, through association. You associate the doctor with a certain thing. If you have a very bad mental problem and you go to a psychiatrist, and when you walk into the office, there's just some hippie sitting there with his dirty bare feet up on the table and he smells like marijuana and all the rest of it, you're not going to have enough confidence in him for him to be able to heal you, because the associations aren't there. He doesn't have a big, expensive desk. He doesn't look like a very intelligent man. He doesn't look like he has absolute control over life. And therefore, you don't have the associations that's going to create the placebo healing effect on you. So he has to look the part. You see, we all know this. It's NLP, basically. So NLP is how you create magic. A magical ritual is putting together a whole bunch of associations that must logically have a particular outcome if you believe the system of those associations. That's magic. Hence, if you absolutely believe me and have faith in me, and I go take 2 drops of milk and put a little bit of sugar and then take this leaf from this particular tree and put that in there and mix it up and hold it under your tongue for 14 minutes, it'll become very difficult and very hard after the first 5 minutes. But if you can go through it for 14 minutes, you will be healed at the end of it. Now, if you believe that, it will work for you because you have faith and belief in me. But you healed yourself. It's got nothing to do with me at all. You just put those associations together. All I have to do is convince you that I'm healing you, and then you'll heal yourself. I actually can't. A lot of the healings that I do in the world, which is called love healing, is if you see someone with cancer and they are suffering, and you feel in your heart so much that you would prefer to have the cancer than to see that person suffering, you can take it from them and they are immediately healed, and then you can go and deal with the cancer yourself because it'll be in you. I've done that several times. I just got rid of my cancer literally 3 or 4 days ago, which I got from somebody else. About 10 years ago, I had cancer in both lungs, which I took from somebody in Queensland in Australia. That took me 40 days to get rid of that out of myself. And that's through meditation. That's not taking anything. And the way I do that is, for me, I would lay down and put my body to sleep, but keep the mind awake. And then using thoughts, and this is the mastery side, you imagine going down into your throat and then down into your lungs. And then you put a workman's helmet on, you know, the white hats that you get when you go to a building site, one of the hard hats. Put one of those on. I get a chisel and a hammer and a light, like a miner's light. And then I go into my lungs and I start chipping all the black pieces off the side of my lungs on the inside. And then I get a high pressure hose and I clean the inside of the lungs until they're beautiful and pink. And I do that every night for 40 nights. And after 40 nights, absolutely no cancer whatsoever. And that's how you do it. The brain speaks in pictures. If I say to you, what color is the walls in your room? You don't see the words, my walls are white. You just see the white wall. And then you have to turn that picture into a grunt that I can understand. And then I will turn your grunt into a picture. And that's how we speak. We do that all the time. And anyway, I don't know how the hell I got onto all of that, but that's magic. That's mysticism. That's the difference. And to answer your question, very, very rarely will you make the move towards enlightenment through magic. It's a different process. Magic is the power of the monkey. Enlightenment, you won't really want to touch magic anymore, but you will know how it works and why it works, and you will recognize it when it's happening. But there are many, many ways. Once you understand magic, once you've risen above magic, you have absolute ability to destroy magic or work with it. If someone wants to use magic on you, for instance, unless you decided to allow them to do it, they can't. Nothing will happen to you because you're not thinking about what they're telling you. Once you've reached the enlightened mind, you don't use the thought process very often. It's like an electric drill. You don't use your electric drill to go to the toilet. You don't use your electric drill to cook your dinner. You don't use your electric drill to do your hair. You only bring out your electric drill when you want to drill holes, and then you put it away. Your thought process is the same. As we've seen before, we rarely use it in the daytime. We're always thinking of something else when we're doing things. We never think about the thing that we're doing. So you don't need to use it. It's just there for some things. But somewhere in evolution, it went wrong, it went off track, and it has taken over our lives, and we have to get that life back. And then the world won't be the way it is. The world is the way it is because we use the lower monkey mind that has the ability to hate and kill and be cruel and all of the things that the monkey likes to do. Once you have control over that thought process, the world won't be the way it is because the world is the way it is because we allow the monkey mind to control the world. How many enlightened people are in our governments? None. How many enlightened people are doctors? None. How many enlightened people are lawyers? You see what I mean? Delusion. We are so deluded that we are a civilized ape. If we were civilized, we wouldn't need policemen. We wouldn't need armies. We wouldn't need the Air Force. We wouldn't even need accountants because we would all be so damn honest. But we're not civilized. So we need armies, we need policemen, we need lawyers, we need prisons because we're not civilized. But we think we're civilized, and therefore we control the world in a very, very bad way. And it's easy for people to say, oh, it's all right for you. You sit there omming and meditating and the world's lovely for you. But what about the misery in the rest of the world? Well, we covered that about 5 minutes ago. If everyone meditated for 5 minutes a day, everyone in the world, what a different place the world would be. Because in that 5 minutes, there wouldn't be one head, one brain on the planet thinking about war or thinking about rape or thinking about stealing or thinking about hurting another person. There wouldn't be one thought on the planet of that nature if everyone got down at the same time every day and just meditated for 5 minutes. That would change the world.
Tell me also the last thing for today. A lot of people are telling such stories. So when they are healed, from someone on a distance, when you see on the video someone moving his hands near the body or something like that, the people who was healed later, I feel that something goes inside of me. It was so warm, or someone told it was cold. I just feel the hand that, I don't know, pushed on the heart or on the stomach. Is it, I don't know if it's correct to ask, is it true, or is it also imagination of these people? Is it also the placebo effects or something like that?
Both.
Yeah.
There are people, and it is very, very possible, and it's quite easy to do, that can, let me back up just a little bit. As above, so below. If I ask you to think of the end of your big toe, and if I say, could you just press your big toe, it doesn't matter which foot, just press your big toe down into the ground a little bit. What's happened there is, within less than a trillisecond, you have the ability to move from here, producing grunts, and with it timelessly, simultaneously, you can go to your big toe, bang, right there, just like that. And it doesn't take any thought. It's no different to doing that. Now, as above, as below, that's just in the micro mind, which is you. In the macro mind, which we are all a part of, it's exactly the same thing. Awareness can be in one galaxy and go to another galaxy within a trillisecond. If you want to talk about it scientifically, we're talking about quantum entanglement, basically. So your mind is already everywhere. Now, if you've done enough work on yourself and your ego has nothing to do with your life anymore, and you are always engaging life from your higher mind and you don't use the thought process anymore, you can go into someone else's mind as quickly as you can go into your big toe right now. It doesn't matter where they are because of quantum entanglement and the fact that you are already everywhere as mind. So it's really easy, not a problem. When it comes to healing on the lower level, people would like to think that they are doing what I just said, but they're not. They're using placebo, but they just don't understand that they're using placebo. So there's both. I'm using magic there. I'm just using your own association and placebo abilities on one level. If I wanted to do it on another level, I would do it the other way and just stop my thought process, leave my body, literally focus into your coordinates where you are, and then I would start thinking in your head instead of my own. That's how that works. But, people can't sell simple. If people want to be special, the more they convince you that this stuff is so complex, the more special it makes them look, the practitioner. And this is the problem with these skills. Once the ego gets hold of these skills, it's just a shit fight, and it's almost embarrassing. Sometimes I'm disgusted in being a human being because of the things that people do from their egos. If I went to an intergalactic meeting with aliens from all over the universe, I wouldn't tell them I was from Earth. I would lie. I go, no, I'm not from there. No. So, but anyway, that's people. We're in a funny state of our development at the moment. We're about 2,000 years behind because of religion. If it wasn't for religion, we wouldn't start outsourcing. We would start knowing and using our own powers. If it wasn't for religion, I imagine we would be all speaking telepathically now. We wouldn't be grunting at each other still, like monkeys do. But anyway, got nothing to do with our happiness.
Thank you for the conversation. So much interesting information. It's so incredible, really incredible, and
wonderful. I'm
yeah,
so happy.
I'm more than sure that the information that you told us today, it will help a lot of people to understand how it works, to understand the ground of these things, and I think it can ruin a lot of illusions.
It's going to upset a lot of scammers, I can tell you now. But someone has to do it.
Yeah. Someone has to do it. That's right.
So I think what you guys are doing is an absolute wonderful thing for humanity. And I thank you very, very much for doing what you're doing. And that goes to all of your staff members, wherever they are in the world. You have my blessings completely. You have my support, absolutely. And I'd love to work with you sometime in the future if that ever happens.
We will stay in connection.